Hi, Danny Prenoveau here, application specialist for Toromont Cat. I've been with Toromont for about 15 years and I'm gonna welcome my colleague, Brian Davis.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Brian Davis here, Construction Solutions Manager at Toromont Cat. Been with Toromont for a little over 13 years. I've worked with my buddy Danny here for a couple of years now. And just like him, yeah, I'm stuck at home. Remember, they said stay home for 2 weeks. That was well over a year ago. But anyways, there's light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm happy to be here, Danny. Let's talk about some small excavators today. Welcome to the Building Tomorrow podcast, where we dig deep into the Eastern Canada construction industry. With Toromont Cat specialists, we discuss heavy equipment, industry trends, and challenges affecting your business.
Good. Brian, so today I guess we're gonna be talking about a pretty interesting subject, small X.
Yeah, in our world, in Caterpillar's world, the small excavators is anything from a 13 ton to a 19 ton, and you would think 19 tons, that's small, but in our world that is small. But yeah, that's what we're gonna talk about.
All right, good. Cat, I think just redo their lineup from the small X, right?
Yeah, it's a pretty exciting time right now at Caterpillar, and they've currently have put to market 6 models. And then we also have a 13, 15, and 17 ton GC machine. And the GC is very similar to the mainline machine. It just does not have all of that technology. So it's more of a plain digging machine.
Okay, so if I'm hearing right, in fact, it depends on what customer is doing with the equipment. So
yeah, exactly. You've got customers who want the latest and greatest. Those are the guys that are out there buying Teslas, or they're out there buying, the F-150 with every toy and gadget on it that they can buy. And then there's the other customers. They just want to dig a hole. That's where the GCs come into play.
When I think small X, in terms of application, what's the first thing that come in your mind?
Great question. And that's the beauty of the small excavators. They've come a long way. A few years back, they were okay, but they've put a lot of effort into the development of the small excavator size class, and they've upped the game on them big time. These things are Swiss Army knives. Yeah. Customers use them literally for everything. Landscapers that are using them to place, rock walls and different things like that, digging pools. Sewer water guys will use them in tight spaces in downtown settings where, real estate's very, very tight, and you got to, get in and out of tight areas. These things they're really good for that. And you can get them with blades on them. You can run any kind of work tool on the front that you want. You can run hammers, thumbs, tilt buckets, rototilts. I mean, you name it. These things will do anything. They're pretty awesome.
I think the last time we spoke, you were telling me a story like you saw a small excavator went to like a hole.
Yeah, this is going back a few years. And there was a contractor, and they were doing a big vertical shaft on a job site, and the only way they could do this was to do this vertical shaft. So they dug everything out that as deep as they could with a big excavator, and then they got to the point where they needed something down in that shaft to dig. So they actually lowered, I think it was about a 12 or 13 ton machine, and they lowered it down in there with a crane, and it would dig and dig and dig, and then they would pull the material out with this crane, and it went down 30 meters. And when it was at the bottom of the shaft at 30 meters deep, and you're standing at the top looking down, it looked like a little wee model down there. It was hilarious, and you think, how in the heck would you ever do this without that small excavator? It was a really neat project.
It's once in a lifetime you saw things like that, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I've been around a long time. I've seen a lot of funny things, and that was one that was definitely interesting. When you see a crane lift up a small excavator and then stick it in a hole, 2 weeks later reach down and pull it back up out of the hole, it was pretty funny.
Brian, I wanted to ask you. You said in your life before Toromont, you used to be a earth-moving contractor. So when do we rent or when do we buy?
Oh wow, it's pretty situational, and it is based on what the customer is doing. We do have these small excavators in the rental fleet, obviously. I would say if you're a contractor that's putting 200 to 300 hours a year or less, like something like that, you probably don't want to own one. If it's not your mainline machine, it's probably something you'd look at for renting, short-term thing. I know in my business, like we had much bigger excavators, but there was the odd time you got into something where it was a little bit specialized, and being able to rent a small excavator for that job would be awesome. If it's going to be your main machine, your main line, you're going to put a lot of hours on it, then you're going to want to own it because that's way more economical than renting.
And like you always find some jobs to take it, right? It's like
and that's the beauty of them, Danny. The versatility of the small excavator. You know, they're so easy to move around.
Yeah.
You're under 20 tons. So most tag trailers behind a dump truck can haul them. You know, most configurations you're about 8'6". So no special permits. You can throw it on a tag trailer. You can equip them with rubber pads, and you can put them anywhere. You can drive them off the trailer right onto a street, drive them across the sidewalk. They're not going to hurt anything, and that's where they become really versatile. They can go anywhere. Whereas a larger track machine, it's very hard to do.
If we have a 317 with technology, with the 2D grade and everything, do you think it can be more productive than a 20-ton without technology?
Absolutely. Could be in the right situation, Danny. That's a great point. If you don't need the 20-ton machine for the lifting capability, footings, you're digging basements and you want to get to grade, a 317 with the 2D grade system and a payload system versus a 20-ton machine without any of that stuff, the operator's going to get to grade faster. They're going to be more accurate. They can, absolutely. There's a huge advantage.
Yeah, I'm pretty curious. We should try it on one time and do the test.
I get to run the one with the grade control, though. You have to run the other machine.
No, I don't think so. And since they brought all that technology on the new lineup, I'm wondering where the industry is going. I look back 5 years ago, and it's crazy the advancement.
It really is. I look back on my career too, and when I started out running equipment, I mean, the stuff that we ran compared to what operators are sitting in today. I mean, wow, the difference is huge, right? And so you look at the excavators now, and one of the big advantages of our new next generation machines is we've gotten rid of the pilot controls. We no longer have any pilot lines running into the cab. There's
so
no
that
hot
means
oil.
The joystick are electro
That's right.
hydraulic, right?
Yeah, electro-hydraulic, fly-by-wire. It's like you're flying a jet airplane, right? And so the beauty of that is now you're controlling things through electronics.
Like remote control?
Line of sight remote control and non-line of sight remote control. I'll tell you, it's an interesting thing trying to dig a hole when you can't really see what you're doing and you're doing it via remote control. But final step beyond that will be full autonomy someday, where you just tell the machine what to do and it goes and digs a hole.
Pretty crazy.
It is pretty crazy, because then you start thinking of the Terminator movies and you think, when's the excavator going to go wild driving through downtown Montreal, right? So obviously, I mean, we joke there's a long way to go, but they've already come a long way. There's autonomous mining fleets out there right now, and the underground mining space, they're really pushing on the autonomy stuff. You save putting personnel down a mine shaft, you can keep them on the surface and run machines that are 1.5 kilometers below the surface. So now bringing that into the general construction where we are, it's not that far away.
After they put it in the mining and bigger machine, it always comes down to the construction equipment after.
Yeah, the mining guys always have the big budgets.
Hey Brian, I wanted to ask you the small X market, where it is today versus where it was 10 years ago.
That's a great question, Dana. I mean, it has changed quite a bit in the last 10 years, and 10 years ago, I don't think you would have seen as many large contractors owning small excavators. And the small excavators, they've put so much development into them in the last while. I look at the 15-ton machine that we have with the reduced radius. I mean, that thing almost sits inside of itself with that reduced radius tail swing. And when you're working against live lanes of traffic and you're in really tight spots, that's where, these things have really come along, and they've added things to them like blades. Like, 10 years ago, it wasn't very common to have a blade on an excavator.
They didn't have blades 10 years ago?
Yeah, there was a few here and there, but not as much, not like it is today. And just the capabilities, they lift more now. They're more powerful. They're faster. They dig deeper. They dig more.
They weren't like that performant 10 years ago, the small X.
No, not like they are now.
Yeah.
And they're becoming more mainline. Whereas before it was a necessary evil maybe to own a 10 or 12 or 15 ton machine because you had to do a few jobs a year with it. Now, for a lot of customers, it's a must have. You have to have these things.
You have to have it.
They run them a lot.
Now, most of the contractor have them, but like on term of financial, it's a pretty affordable machine.
From a financial standpoint for a customer, obviously any piece of equipment is a big investment.
Yeah.
And you want to look at it in terms of, bang for your buck, if you will. For not a huge amount of money, you're getting a heck of a lot of capability. You're getting a machine that can do a lot of stuff. Like, you know, like I said, it's a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah.
The other side of the financial side of it, Danny, like we talk about the price of it. What about, you know, owning and operating? And that's where they've really made a big benefit too. You know, the owning and operating costs in these things are a lot less than they used to be.
Yeah.
So getting rid of the pilot system, the pilot valve and filters and all those lines, you got about 30% less hydraulic oil in this machine.
Yep.
Not only, you know, do you get a capable machine, but you get one that costs pennies on the dollar to maintain.
I'm pretty sure when you're talking about that, the fuel is a main factor in that too.
And that's another huge thing. Absolutely. The fuel efficiency in these new machines, these tier 4 final machines, is amazing. So if you're doing something that's not all that taxing on the machine, light grading work or just lifting a little bit of pipe here and there, you can put it on eco mode.
Okay.
You know, and the eco mode's going to burn 10% less fuel. Okay, it's a small excavator. It doesn't burn a huge amount of fuel in a day, but hey, if at the end of the year somebody handed me a check for $2,000 or $3,000 and said, I don't think I would say no to that.
Yeah.
I don't know. You're a pretty big star, so you may say no to that.
And you have like 2-3 pieces of equipment.
Absolutely, and it's good for the environment. And sometimes they got to go real cheap to get stuff, you know. And so if you can save on fuel,
it might win you a contract or two that you wouldn't have before.
You know, you add in the benefits of the technology, you can do the work faster, and you can do it and burn less fuel at the same time. It's a win-win.
Can you take me like around a couple of work tools we can put on them?
Honestly, I don't know of anything you can't put on one of these machines if you've got auxiliary hydraulics, but some of the coolest things that we see, I mean, obviously, you know, you see hammers are fun and thumbs and different things like that, tilt buckets.
Yep.
But one of the coolest things that's come out in the last few years, and it's gaining a lot more popularity, are those rototilt. Rototilt allows you to rotate the bucket 360 degrees.
Okay.
It also allows you to tilt it. It's a coupler and bucket system, so you can put multiple buckets on. You watch an operator that's got some skill with a rototilt, and you let them loose with one of these machines, and it's incredible what they can do. It's like an artist with a canvas and a set of paintbrushes.
Yep.
It's insane what some of these guys are able to do. I look at when I started, I mean, we didn't even have quick couplers. We just had a bucket. You know, if you missed it, you had a bunch of laborers there to shovel it in by hand. Not anymore, man. These guys can get into the coolest places with these rototilts. It's pretty awesome.
Yep.
You're placing like armor stone, or you got a backfill in behind a wall. You're situated with the excavator. You reach out with the bucket.
Yeah.
You can spin it 90 degrees, dump the material in, grade it off. It's unbelievable when a person is really good at a rototilt, what they can do with it.
And I was wondering, in the monitor, is it possible to adjust the workflow?
Our tool control system on all of our excavators, actually, our auxiliary tool controls, except for a couple of the larger GC models, but on the small excavators that we're talking about today, the tool control system allows you to select up to 20 different work tools. In the monitor, you can adjust it, because obviously a hammer needs full flow, bang, bang, bang all the day long. A thumb needs two-way flow, and you don't want it to be really, really strong because you don't want to crush stuff, right? So all different tools require different flows, and the beauty of our system is from the seat in the monitor, you can make all those adjustments.
Good.
Even you can do it, Danny. You know, I'm thinking that I'd like to see you running one of these things.
Oh,
and,
yeah?
You know, what do you think? You think you could handle a next-gen machine, a 315 with great
control?
control?
Yeah, I think if it's a next-gen machine, I could be pretty good at it with the 2D and everything.
Yeah.
Maybe not like a pro, but it would help me a lot. I'm sure.
I'll tell you, it is incredible what it can do to an operator. And, you know, the technology that's on them, you take a very good operator that's got a lot of hours in the seat, very seasoned, it's making them, you know, that much more efficient. Is it going to make them any better? You know, that's like saying, can you make Sidney Crosby better? Can you make Connor McDavid better? You know, I mean, they're already at the top of their game. How much better?
If you put fire behind their skates,
maybe then they get better. Exactly. But what I can tell you is, you take the guy off the fourth line and you put him in this excavator, he can get on the first line. That's the difference. It's someone who maybe has the knowledge of how to move the material but isn't quite as seasoned in keeping grade, or, you know, that's where the technology can help them out immensely.
Or maybe like a new operator that just come out of school, it can bring him to another level pretty fast.
Exactly. And it's going to be able to do things where, you know, they're not going to be able to dig below grade, so they're not going to create a situation where you have to backfill and waste money, waste time. You can put on cab avoidance.
Okay.
If you have a big tilt bucket or a rototilt bucket or something on that machine, you can reach the cab with that work tool.
Yeah.
And you put cab avoidance on and it stops the tool from hitting the cab. So you're not going to break the window. You're not going to hurt anybody, which is a good thing. You know,
Yeah,
I know I had to replace a couple of windshields in my day from
Yeah.
operators, you know, doing the wrong thing. So,
You replace them yourself, or?
well, I had to pay for it. It was my machine. Yeah, smart guy.
Yeah, the used market.
Yeah, you know what, Danny? That is a great topic of conversation because used equipment right now, good used equipment's at a premium. Things are busy. People are looking for machines. But a used small excavator can be a really good solution for a customer, especially if they're not going to have a huge amount of utilization. If they're not putting on 1,000 or more hours, if they're just using it a little bit here and there, they need it for this job and that job, a used piece would be absolutely perfect. You can definitely look at some very good machines that are a few years old that are going to do well for a contractor.
We talked before rent or buy, so it's a good option when you're in between the two. Like,
Yeah,
you're gonna
you know,
do more
and
hour than just for renting it, but like not on a big production.
let's just say your business is starting to evolve, right? So
Yep.
now you need a small excavator, you got a little job going, you rent one. That works pretty good. Then you start picking up a few more little jobs like that, but it's not your main line of work. Well, now renting may become a little bit too expensive.
Yeah.
How about the used option? If I can get a good used machine at a good price, that's something that I can stick in my lineup. If it's not running every day, it's not killing me because I'm not paying rent on it every day.
Yeah.
And it's going to last a long time because I'm not putting a lot of hours on it.
Yeah.
And then as my business evolves more and more and more, now maybe I'm looking at a new piece. So yeah, the used piece absolutely fits in well for a lot of contractors.
Like, you might not use it every day, but when you need it, it's there.
It's there. And you know, and the problem that you might have with rental is if it's in the heat of the season, guess what? They're all out. And then the other thing you can do too, Danny, with a good used piece, and especially with an excavator, I mean, they're built to last a while. So, you know, you could do a little bit of maintenance on them, a little bit of refurb, you know, maybe do up the pumps, maybe, you know, depending on how old it is.
Give her some love a bit.
Give it a little bit of love, a little TLC, exactly, you know, and the other thing is too, I know with our certified used pieces, we offer, you know, a warranty with them to say, hey, I'm buying this piece of equipment.
It brings you some peace of mind too.
Some peace of mind, yeah, a little bit of confidence, exactly.
Before I let you go, Brian, last one question I want to ask you. At this time, what's the best advice you can give a contractor?
You know what? My number one piece of advice to a contractor is don't underestimate where your business is going to go. You don't want to buy a piece of equipment that's only going to do what you want to do today. Look at where your business could be in 2, 3, 4, you know, future-proof your purchase, if you will. You may not need all the features that are on that machine today, but 2 years from now, who knows?
Yeah.
I rented a vehicle one time while I was traveling and it had adaptive cruise control on it.
Okay.
And the first thing that went into my mind was the next time I buy a new truck, I have to have adaptive cruise control.
Because you tried it.
Because I tried it and I loved it. So when I bought my new truck, I had to wait because I wanted adaptive cruise control, and I've got it and I love it. So my advice to a contractor is look down the road. If your competitors are using technology and you're not, you may want to really seriously think about that, because technology is not going away. You know, margins are tighter, schedules are tighter. We don't have the ability to go back and do things twice, and you get paid once as a contractor. So if you have the opportunity to buy a piece of equipment that's going to future-proof your business for the next few years, well, I'm not going to run a hammer today. Okay, you're not running it today, but what if you pick up a job in a year's time and part of that job is breaking up a bridge deck or a structure and you need a hammer? Well,
you have to pass on it.
Yeah, if you got the plumbing on your machine, that's my advice is really look at what you're doing and set your machine up for your best future.
All right, so hey, Brian, thanks really much for all the good insight you gave us today. It's been a pleasure being with you, so have a good day.
Thanks, Danny. Great being here. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Building Tomorrow podcast. We hope you enjoyed it. Please be sure to subscribe so that you can join us again. For more info and tips from our specialists, check out our website and the Building Tomorrow blog. See you next month.